Debt of the sea. Debt of the sea. The sea had always been his companion, not a friend, not an enemy, something more complex, a restless mirror of his own life. Every morning before dawn, Elias pushed his small boat from the shore, the wooden hull groaning like tired bones, and set out into the cold embrace of the waves. He was an old man now. His beard, once black and thick, had thinned to grey wisps, salt-streaked like the tide marks on the rocks. His hands, cracked and swollen from years of rope and salt water, moved with the patience of one who had done this work long enough to know there was no rushing the sea. The ocean gave, but it also took. He knew this better than most. Years ago, when the storms were crueler and his strength more youthful, he'd lost his boy to the deep. A sudden squall, a boat overturned, and the water, dark, hungry, merciless, had swallowed his son whole. The villagers spoke of fate, of God's will, but Elias knew the truth. The sea never forgets its debts. It takes what it wants, and it never gives back. Since then, every catch felt like penance. Every fish hauled over the side was a reminder that he lived while his son did not. He often found himself staring into the black water at night, listening to the slow thump of the tide against the harbour wall, wondering if his boy's voice lingered somewhere beneath the waves. Sometimes, when the fog was heavy and the world seemed made of whispers, he thought he heard him calling. The sea was like his memory, vast, endless, full of hidden wrecks. Some days it sparkled, kind and forgiving, reminding him of mornings when his son had laughed at the gulls. Other days it roared, cruel and endless, dragging him back into grief. And just like the sea, Elias knew his own time was ebbing. His body was an old vessel, creaking, leaking, and not built for another storm. One evening, when the horizon burned red, as if the world itself were bleeding, Elias stayed out longer than usual. The nets were empty, but he didn't mind. He let the boat drift, the silence broken only by the slap of water against wood. He looked at the horizon and thought of his son. Somewhere beyond the line where sky and sea touched. The tide began to rise and Elias closed his eyes. He felt the swell rock him gently like a lullaby. The sea had always taken, but perhaps now it would give him something back. Perhaps, just this once, it would carry him where he longed to be. When the villagers found the boat the next morning, it was empty. The nets were coiled neatly, the oars tied down, as if prepared for one last journey. They shook their heads in sorrow, but some swore the water that day was strangely calm, as though the sea itself had stilled in respect, and somewhere in its depths a father and son were reunited, carried on the eternal tide.